Hey, what's going on, guys? Well, Brothers Collectibles here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. This is going to be part 3 of Let's Talk Tomb Raider. So if you've not seen part 1 or 2, definitely check those out first. So in this video, I wanted to talk about my hopes and thoughts of the new Sophie Turner Amazon series, and then maybe share some of my ideas of what I think the series should be. I mean, it's already started production, so any of my ideas is just purely me wishful thinking and my dreams for the Tomb Raider series. In terms of the series itself, I just hope Sophie Turner makes it her own. I do hope they stick closer to the video games, the original core design games, take elements from them specifically, plot lines and things like that, because the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider films kind of did their own thing and just took elements from the games rather than story pieces. So I think that the plot of this new series, hopefully it's going to be the storylines from the games, maybe the first 4 games, maybe even some Angel of Darkness elements. And I just really hope she makes it her own, and I'm sure she's going to do a good job with it. I'm all for, a new Lara Croft, a new take on it. But also not forgetting the roots as well. I think sometimes they deviate too much from the source material when they're trying to make it their own. But I'm sure she's going to do a fine job. And I look forward to the series, just to see what it's all about, what it has to offer. So my ideas for the series, these are just my thoughts about what I think a series of Tomb Raider should be. I think follow the games more closely, of course. Add more elements from the games that we've not seen before. The costume looks right in this new series, so I'm happy about that. They've certainly gone back to old school Lara Croft in terms of the costume design, and I really think it looks great here in this new up and coming series. But my ideas for the new series, it shouldn't be Lara Croft trying to find her father that's been lost. That's been done to death, in the games, in the new movies, even in the Angelina Jolie film, it was about she wasn't sure what happened to her father, and it's about finding out the truth. That's been done too much. Forget about that. I'm not really interested in what's happened to her father. I want something fresh. So my ideas would be, the series should focus on Werner Von Croy, her mentor from Tomb Raider 4. In their relationship. You have a relationship between Richard Croft and Werner Von Croy, maybe them being best friends or something. And then when Richard Croft dies or passes away, Von Croy should take Lara under his wing and, teach her, coach her, and, really inspire her to carry on her father's legacy of an archaeologist and things like that. That relationship should really be a focus of the series, in my opinion. As I said, I don't know if it's going to happen. These are just my ideas. So I think season 1 should start with either a flashback or maybe a dream sequence that, opens up, but the dream sequence is a flashback. It should be a flashback of the opening level of Tomb Raider 4. Lara on her first adventure with Von Croy. Explore their relationship a little bit. Lara's first adventure, she's a bit unsure. Von Croy, that banter and, their relationship should be explored. And follow the progress, not like her training and stuff like that and control, because that's video game, but have this adventure in Cambodia as the, that follows the plot of Tomb Raider 4, and then have Von Croy entombed at the end of the race for the iris. Have Lara Croft warning him, we shouldn't disturb this, just like the game, and then he goes, oh no, it's nonsense, pull the lever, and then have the whole temple coming down on them, and then have Von Croy entombed, then Lara unable to save him, just escapes just in the nick of time, barely makes it out alive, and then have her wake up, or have it just transition to the present. And then, I think that the rest of that episode should be, set in Croft Manor, introduce the butler, whether it's going to be Winston or another name. They changed it to Hillary in the Angelina Jolie films. Introduce Zip, a tech sidekick, explore that relationship. Maybe she does some training, maybe she does some gymnastics. Just keep building the world in that first episode, explore Croft Manor a little bit, let the series breathe, just take your time. And I think that should be the basis for like the first episode, set the story up back in the past, introduce Werner Von Croy and that relationship, and then open up present day Croft Manor explore that a little bit, introduce a lot of the different characters. And then I think the rest of season 1 should follow the plot of the first game, you know, with the Jacqueline Natler recruiting Lara to find the scion of Atlantis, and then all the plot elements from the first game should be included, the locations, you know, the boss battles, all the different characters. You know, you can incorporate them into all the episodes and have this big epic finale that brings kind of a closure to the series and leaves it open for a series 2, of course. But you know, have her barely escaping, you know, Atlantis as she does in the game, you know, on a motorbike, I think it is, and she dives out the pyramid just before it explodes, you know, and have her swimming away to safety, and then set up a season 2. That's what I think, you know, the season 1 should be. And then I've got ideas for 5 seasons, by the way, so bear with me. So I think then season 2 and 3 should take elements from Tomb Raider 2 and 3, you know, the plot devices, the locations, just, you know, just play out the series, you know, maybe episodic, or, you know, have a quest and just have a whole story arc for seasons 2 and 3. And then season 4, I think, should take it back to the first season, you know, and season 4 of my idea for the show should be straight up Tomb Raider 4, you know, Egypt, have Lara, you know, in those locations in Egypt, you know, awaken the Pharaoh Set, I think it is in the game, and then have Von Croy come back just like he does in the game, and have the whole mysterious thing there of how he returned, and have him, is he possessed by Set, does she trust him or not, and then end season 4 on a cliffhanger, just like the Last Revelation video game. I would end it, you know, Lara running to get out of the pyramid or the temple, whatever it is, and then Von Croy trying to help her, saying, come on, I'll help you. And then she doesn't trust him, you know, there's all that going on, and then she is entombed, you know, leave a cliffhanger ending, she doesn't take Von Croy's hand, she gets trapped in the tomb herself, all the stuff comes crumbling down on it, and her fate is uncertain, just like the ending of the 4th video game. I think that should be the cliffhanger ending for season 4, you know, bring it right back to that ending of the 4th Tomb Raider game. And then for the 5th season, that should be straight up Angel of Darkness. You know, first 3 episodes, you know, explore, just like they did in the book of Boba Fett, explore how Lara would escape, you know, just as Boba escaped the Sarlacc pit, you know, set all that up, to, you know, show how she escaped the temple. And then have it so many months later or a few years later, Von Croy contacts Lara and asks her for his help, you know, with the 5 Obscura paintings, but there's this mysterious serial killer in Paris, the Monstrum. And do it straight up Angel of Darkness, you know, murder mystery, have Von Croy murdered off screen, you know, and as Lara, she's the only witness of the crime, and, you know, she's blamed for it, so she's on the run from the police. And just really incorporate that murder mystery thing from Angel of Darkness into season 5 of the show. And, you know, having to clear her name and finish Von Croy's work and just play out the whole Angel of Darkness. You could introduce Curtis Trent as a, you know, a side character, a sidekick, you know, that sort of thing. And just explore the whole saga of the original Courtesan games a bit more in a series. You know, I don't know what the plans are for this new show, but that's my ideas of what a Tomb Raider series should be. You know, have it 5 seasons, have it spanning the first 5 games in series. Well, Tomb Raider 5 is Chronicles, you know, skipped over that, but have the 5th season be the Angel of Darkness, which is technically game number 6, isn't it? So I think that, you know, is a great premise for a show. You know, that's just my opinion, my ideas, you know, whether it's ever going to happen, probably not. But that's what I think, you know, could happen. So yeah, I'm just really excited for this new series. Can't wait to see what they do with it. I'm hoping, as I say, they take plot elements from the video games, but only time will tell. You know, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who is in The Dial of Destiny, you know, is at the helm of this project. I think she's writing it and producing it and things like that. She's very much involved in the development process of this series. So yeah, I just can't wait to see what it has to offer. So that's going to be it for this video, guys, on part 3 of Let's Talk Tomb Raider. I do hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. I really do appreciate all the support. You know, please keep your eyes open for more videos. I've got new content coming all the time. And I will see you very soon in more videos. Take care.